फ्रेंड्स, एक नई वीडियो के साथ मैं प्रोफेसर चंद्र प्रकाश भसीन हृदय के अंत्यकरण से आपका स्वागत करता हूं। कुछ समय पहले मैंने एक वीडियो अपने चैनल पे अपलोड किया था। उस व्यक्ति की कहानी थी जो यदि दूसरा नोबेल प्राइज प्राप्त कर लेता तो वो इतिहास में एक छठे व्यक्ति के रूप में 2 नोबेल पुरस्कार प्राप्त करने वाले व्यक्तियों की श्रेणी में आ सकता था, लेकिन शायद प्रकृति को यह मंजूर नहीं था। उनका जो मूल कार्य था, जिसके लिए 1965 का नोबेल पुरस्कार मिला था, आर्ट ऑफ ऑर्गेनिक सिंथेसिस, सिंथेसिस ऑफ organic compounds. He synthesized a lot of organic compounds in his laboratory, friends, but he contributed equally as Roald Hoffman for orbital symmetry in chemical reaction. He got the Nobel Prize in 1965, but second Nobel Prize he could not get in 1981. Roald Hoffman could get, but R.B. Woodward not, because he took the last breath in 1979. यह है कर्मण्यवाधिकार रस्ते, कर्म करे जाओ। ऐसी एक छोटी सी स्टोरी रसायन शास्त्र के बहुत ही महान रसायन शास्त्री गिलबर्ट न्यूटन लुइस, जी हां, लेविस भी प्रोनाउंस करते हैं और लुइस भी प्रोनाउंस करते हैं, जीएन लेविस, जिनका जन्म 1875 मैसाचुसेट्स यूएसए में हुआ था और 1946 में उनकी डेथ हुई थी। कहा जाता है और he proved he was the most genius chemist of 21st century, but that I will come to later on. So genius chemist, his hero was Humphrey Davy. Many times he mentioned in his writing, the main hero of G.N. Lewis was Humphrey Davy. Friends, what was the contribution of G.N. Lewis? The contribution of G.N. Lewis started from 9th standard when we read the Lewis structure of organic compounds. How the chemical bond is formed by the sharing of electron, 1 electron each, 2 electron each, or 3 electron each. That theory was given by G.N. Lewis. Friends, acid base, we were having Arrhenius theory, but the theory that acids are electron acceptor and all base are electron donors was given by G.N. Lewis. Further, he was pioneer of chemical thermodynamics, I can say, in USA. He was one of the founders of chemical thermodynamics in USA, or rather I can say he was the person who shifted the physical chemistry from Europe to USA. And he was very famous for the separation of isotope, which were used or which are used, I can say, for artificial transmutation of the elements. Actually, here I would like to speak. In fact, Urey, one of his brilliant student, Nobel laureate Urey, he discovered deuterium. But Urey was his student, and later on, G.N. Lewis realized this deuterium can be an element which is isotope of hydrogen, because the weight of deuterium is just 2 times of the hydrogen. Then he thought, if I combined deuterium with hydrogen, the product might be different from H2O water. And he was correctly, what should I say, isolated the first drop of D2O heavy water in his lab. What is the importance of heavy water? We all know. Of course, deuterium was discovered by Urey and he got the Nobel Prize also in 1934, but D2O was first synthesized in the lab of G.N. Lewis. Later on, in the last stage, I should say at the age of 65, he shifted his field to photochemistry and he did discover fluorescence and fluorescence of organic dyes, or I can say inorganic dyes. Friends, a great chemist who contributed in chemical bond, who contributed in structure of molecule, who contributed in thermodynamics, pioneer of physical chemistry in United States, who was in the position to separate the isotopes, and he was the person, key person behind the transmutation of elements. fluorescence and phosphorescence of organic dyes, or I can say photochemistry. His three brilliant students, G.T. Seaborg, you all know 106 element in the periodic table, seaborgium. I will not come to that, but 1994, if your memory recall, that was a lot of controversy when the seaborgium name was included in the periodic table. But ultimately, 106 element, we see that it's seaborgium nowadays. He received Nobel Prize in 1951 for what? For synthesis of 10 transuranic elements. Friend, to synthesize 10 transuranic elements by a single person means a lot. He received the Nobel Prize in 1951. Melvin Kelvin, who reported the assimilation of carbon dioxide in plant, received the Nobel Prize in 1961. I can say with surety 3 of his students received the Nobel Prize. Now I come to the point. His 3 students received the Nobel Prize. G.T. Seaborg 1951, Melvin Kelvin 1961, Harold Urey 1934. But a great chemist, pioneer of chemical bond, pioneer of structure of organic molecules, photochemistry, heavy water synthesis. He was nominated 35 times for the Nobel Prize. Friends, you can think it is very difficult to get nominated once in the Nobel Prize, because either the Nobel laureates, they can suggest the name, or some outstanding personality of that field which are nominated by the Sweden Nobel Committee. They can nominate, but he was not nominated only once. He was nominated 35 times for Nobel Prize, but he could never receive the Nobel Prize. This is a story. You can see G.T. Seaborg, his student received in 1951, Melvin Kelvin 1961, Harold Urey 1934. But G.N. Lewis could never receive the Nobel Prize in spite of his nomination 35 times. Now I come to the last point. जब उनकी डेथ हुई थी, what he was doing? He was just preparing the liquid hydrogen cyanide, SCN. Friends, he was very fond of under vacuum distillation. And when I was reading this point, I was also recalling my time. Really, if you distill ordinary, that doesn't mean. But if you distill something under reduced pressure, that gives you immense pleasure. Nowadays, a lot of facilities are there. But even at the time of G.N. Lewis, you can think he was preparing the liquid SCN in the glass assembly. Now, because in spite of 35 times nomination, he could not receive the Nobel Prize. One fine morning, his student Kasha, when he entered in the lab, his head was on the table and SCN distillation assembly was broken. And this is the mystery. क्या G.N. Lewis ने आत्महत्या की थी या उनको हार्ट अटैक आया था? यदि हार्ट अटैक आया था तो हो सकता है उनका सिर SCN, जो लिक्विड SCN प्रिपेयर कर रहे थे, उसकी असेंबली से टकरा गया हो, या हो सकता है he was such a genius scientist, उन्होंने यदि सुसाइड भी किया हो तो इतना ब्यूटीफुली सुसाइड किया था कि किसी को यह ना लग पाए कि उन्होंने सुसाइड किया है। 35 बार नॉमिनेट होने के बाद भी नोबेल प्राइज नहीं मिला, लेकिन उन्होंने अपना कर्म अंतिम समय में कह सकता हूं, when he took the last breath, he was preparing liquid SCN in his laboratory by using the glass apparatus. तो फ्रेंड्स, ये एक दूसरी कहानी है जिसको हम 20वीं शताब्दी का महानतम रसायन शास्त्री, ग्रेट केमिस्ट ऑफ 20th सेंचुरी कह रहे हैं। 35 टाइम्स लोगों ने उनको सूटेबल माना था, इसीलिए नॉमिनेट किया था। लेकिन यहां नेचर की देखिए, he could not receive the Nobel Prize. Story is not ended here. Friends, I request you, especially my younger friends, if you read the biography of scientists, you can learn it all. I hope you will like it, share it. Thank you so much.